Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, what we're going to be talking about is our Quatre project. This is March 5th, right? This is the first video of the month. I started this project on February 1st, and this is the monthly update of where we're at with Quatre. Now you know I've been doing updates almost like every other day, every 3 days or something like that. Well, this last video, there has been a big gap. The last video I think was the 28th, and it's now the 5th. So we have made a lot of progress, and I just wanted to kind of clue you in on some of the things that we are planning for the Quatre game down in NashCon on the 1st of June. We're going to be running 2 sessions. It looks like we're going to be on table 6. You can check the event list at nashcon.org. There's an event list that shows our 2 games on there for the Quatre project. Be sure to come join us. Okay, so let's tell you what happened since the 1st of the month. Well, I've been working a lot on British. So I actually have, you can see 4 British units right here. They're still on their popsicle sticks, and they're still not finished. But I can do each one of I can finish each one of these units probably in 2 hours. So at least one a day. I'm hoping I'm going to get them all knocked out by either a couple more knocked out tonight, and then tomorrow get a couple more knocked out, and then I'll have all those British complete. I have, since the last video, I had finished the 33rd West Riding Regiment, and I had finished the 23rd Royal Welsh Regiment. I have every figure that's complete, is laid out in front of me. You can only see up to about the British. I have the French over there, and I'll let you know. I'll do a close-up of everything when we're done. Okay, I got a bunch of bases in from Litco, so I got all my bases in. I got, not all my bases, I got a bunch of bases. I got cavalry and infantry bases from Litco. I got enough of those to, we're going to be able to do, I have more than enough bases. And then now I went ahead and based up all my trees. I'm looking at my webcam, you can't see it, but I have all my trees are mounted on washers now, and they're completely finished, ready to go, ready to be put on the table. I have all my buildings are right there. They are not finished. I need to do some trim work on them. I mean, I could take those right now and put them on the table and everybody would be happy, but that's not acceptable for me. I got to do just a little bit better than the minimal viable product, right? And honestly, I would say the majority of these models here are at my minimal viable product. They're not really finished per se. They are really nice. I want to say on a scale of 1 to 10 they're like 7, but I think I can get them up to 8 or 9 with a little extra highlighting and detailing and stuff like that. But because we're, or at least I am, rushing to get to all the models able to be played, I'm only bringing them up to like level 7. Okay, and then I'm gonna finish them, get everything to the minimal viable product, and then I will say, oh, now let's go back and elevate those up a little bit higher. So right now it's just going through and getting them playable. I did get my Dutch Belgians in. Since the last time we talked, I said I was still waiting on the Dutch Belgians that was supposed to correct my order that came in incorrectly. Well, I did receive those. I have my Dutch Belgians. So I have every figure that I need except for the Lancer units. One box of Warlord Lancers would, because I already have the Lancer command, so one box of Lancers from Warlord will allow me to put 2 units of Lancers on the table. And other than that, I have every figure I need. There's a couple of generals that I don't have, named generals. I can take just a generic general and put him on the table and say he's so-and-so general. So it looks like I'm going to be just taking a cavalry guy, mounting him individually on a general base and say, check that guy out, he's a general. You know, all of a sudden he got promoted. You know, and that's probably what we're going to do. That way I don't have to go out and buy a bunch of new generals. I do have a couple of drawers of generals over there. I've got Wellington, Uxbridge, not at this fight, but I do have Uxbridge. I've got Picton, Kemp, Pack, Prince of Orange, the Duke of Brunswick. I've got some core generals like Riel and Lebeau and d'Erleron. I think I have those guys from the French. I've got Ney. I've got a bunch of ADCs, and I've got a bunch of just foot colonels. Now these foot colonels, I was planning on using them as generals, but there's something else you can do with them, and that's I can take a mounted colonel and replace the colonel that's, you know, the foot colonel, replace him and one of the foot guys, and put him down there and he'll take up the space of 2 soldiers basically. But and he could be in charge of the regiment. I just finished another tutorial, the advanced rules, the one that talks about squares and occupying buildings. So that's out, that's up and running right now. After this video, I'm going to film the commander and special abilities portion of the tutorial. That should be pretty quick. A couple of things I wanted to say. All the units now, I've started to mount them. Okay, first of all, I'm mounting them on 16 figures in a unit, pretty much. It's a perfect square, right? And I'm taking one of the 4 stands, because I'm putting them 2 figures per stand, except for one of the stands, I'm splitting it in half, giving me 2 two-man stands, and these will act as skirmishers for the unit. I've come to the realization that I'm not going to have enough of the small stands. I am only going to have enough for these British units here, and then I'm going to be sucking if I have any more units to do, which I do. I've got a ton more units to do. So I've come up with a sneaky solution. Okay, now I have a ton of these Warlord Games sprues of bases, and this is what I've been using, right? I don't have a complete one in here. Okay, but I've been using these Warlord sprues, and they come with 9 40 by 40s, which I'm only using 4 of them per unit. And then I'll use another 4 for another unit, and then another 4 for another unit, or what have you. Unless, of course, it's a bigger unit like this, then I'll use 6 of them. Okay, great. But I won't. I'll use actually only 3, because, like I said, there's going to be 3 40 by 40s, and then one of them is going to be the 20 by 40s, which are the 2 that go right here. When these bases up here can do 3 units, and this can only do 1 unit, I tend to fall behind on how many units I can do skirmishers with. This could be, these 4 bases right here, could be another unit if I wanted to have individually mounted skirmishers, right? Which I still might do, because I have a ton of these sprues, and they all have these individual mounted things. And then they give me this one long base, which is a 4-man base, and it's a 20 by 80. This is great for Hail Caesar, where I can mount my, you can mount units 4 wide, you know, and you can put your, or your command base or something like that can go on there, which these guys here are 4 wide. I've even considered basing them like this, but then you can't get into March column, you know, so I said, nope, not going to do that. So what did I do? I took, because I have all these extras, because like when I finish using up all 9 of these, I cut this little top piece off, giving me this, and then I just take this and throw it in my drawer, right? So, and then I just throw the rest of the sprue away. Well, I've got a bunch of these little bitty things with skirmisher things and the long 80 millimeter, right? So, if I take my X-Acto knife, which I just did an hour ago, you cut this 40 millimeter in half, or just basically all I did was score it directly in the middle, and then I popped it in half. It gave me 2 more bases for the skirmishers. So each one of these will get me another unit of skirmishers, basically. Another unit of skirmishers. So that's going to help out a lot. Now I already have Litco bases in that size, the 20 by 40s. But I'm going to use those as a last resort because they're the really thin ones. They're the 0.8 or the 0.08 or what, 0.8 I guess. 0.8 millimeters. So they're like super thin, and I don't want to put my 28s on super thin bases. I want them to be on bases that have got a little bit of meat to them. And these bases have meat to them, and the Litcos that I ordered have meat to them, but I didn't order any 20 by 40s. Maybe I should have, but I'm going to be able to make some 20 by 40s just by cutting those in half. Okay, so what else? Oh, wait, here's some cavalry bases. Okay. Okay, so what did we talk about? We talked about the buildings. Still need a little work on that. Oh yeah. Okay, I anticipate needing the 3 or 4 buildings in Quatre, the 1 building for Gemiancourt, the 1 building for Thule, and any other buildings that I might want to throw out there or whatever. Now these buildings are not supposed to be this big. They're not supposed to be gigantic. They're supposed to be smaller buildings. Maybe a 4x4 building, right? I can make like a little 4x4 building, and then around it, about another couple of inches on every side, should be a base. I should put them on a base, and then that base will have like a fence or a walled courtyard, like Peuple like a Hay Saint or Huemont or something like that would have a walled courtyard, or so. Maybe I'll put the building in a corner and I'll put a walled courtyard out here with a fence and a gate and stuff like that, and basically make each of my buildings that I put on the table a little mini diorama. But the reason why I need to do that is because when you deploy units into a building, you just put them in the little courtyard town square area, the base. You don't actually put them inside the buildings. You can put them inside the buildings, but there's no need for that because they recommend that the city sectors or the town sectors or the building sectors or whatever you want to call them are 12 inches by 12 inches big. I think that's maybe a little too big, especially in my games, because we're playing with 16 figs and not 32 figs. So I'm thinking maybe 8 inches, right? So a 4-inch building in the middle with 2 inches on each side gives me an 8 by 8. And that also gives me enough room to put the infantry, maybe walls and fences or hedges or something like that, and put the infantry around the edges. That's what I think I need to do. Now, I can do that in 1 or 2 nights. That's not a big deal. I can scratch build some buildings. That's not a big deal. Half the buildings I got up there will work with this plan. Okay, so I can put the medieval building in the middle, and I can just give it a base. They don't even have to be glued on the base. I could just make a base template with the fence and the walls and everything, and it'd be a total separate board right? And then I just lay it down, take my building, and go boop right in the middle of it, right? And so the building could be adjusted or moved as needed inside this little town area, and then to accommodate figures, or you can even, if you needed to, just pick the building up, set it off to the side, put your figures in there. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a few of these bases. Now the question was, and I've been thinking, and I'm sharing this with you, is that when I lay out the Quatre map that I've already made, and I made it with the intention of the buildings being their own buildings and not a town square. So I don't know how much room I have in each of the sectors to make these town sectors. So what I'm going to have to do is custom make them. So I'm going to have to find the road intersection, because the road goes like that, right? So it's not perfectly straight like this. It's not a T. It's kind of like at an angle like this. And because of that, that town sector might need to be pointed. I'm thinking it'll accommodate the Quatre crossroads better. And then now the issue with that, I'm running into all kinds of issues. The issue with that is when you're occupying the building, you fight out of sides. And I don't know if I want the side to be like this when it's probably supposed to be like this. So if I have a side like this, there's going to be a dead area of shooting probably. I'll have to house rule it or something, or I'll just clip the edge and make one of the sides smaller than the other two sides or three sides or something like that. I don't know. And then maybe put a tree in or a well or something in there that just for looks, right? So that's probably what we're going to do. Just because of that one road clips like this. The one that goes like this is not that big of a deal because it's a bigger area. It's more space to work with. But the one road that goes like, well, there's two roads, I guess, that go like this, then this might be an issue. So I don't know. So one day, probably this week, I'm going to lay the map out again. I'm going to get out my tape measure and figure out how big the buildings are and figure out how big of a templates I need to make for these town sectors, and then go from there, right? So look for that in the coming future. I'll probably do a video about it, just because it'll be like as I make them, just to be do double duty. It'll be Quatre project, but it'll also be building terrain. Okay, let me think. Let me pause for a second. And think about some of the other things that I've done. All right, I'm back. And as you know, I still need to make that bridge. I haven't made that yet. All right, so let me go ahead and I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to show you the figures in their grandeur. And then what we'll do is we'll do a close-up of a couple of these British units that I just finished so that you get the money shot on all the British that I've just finished. Alright guys, this is what I've completed so far. This is the British over on this side, and then this is the French on this side. So what I'll do is I'll go across each unit and kind of show you exactly which unit is which. Alright, now we'll do a close-up of this unit here in just a minute, but that's the 23rd Welsh. They haven't been based yet. The White is still drawing for them. You got the one artillery piece. We have the Brunswick Line Infantry right there, right? Brunswick Line. We have the Belgian Line. We have more Brunswick Line. We have Brunswick Light, 2 units. We have the Dutch Jaegers right there, the green guys. We've got the 27th Regiment right there. And then this is a new regiment. This is the 33rd West Riding. We got the 79th Highlanders and the 92nd Highlanders. And then up front, I've got the 44th unit and the 1st First Regiment. Okay, so now when we come over here, these are the French, and I've got 3 French light units right up front, and then I've got the 2 cuirassiers, and then a parade dress, a large French line unit. And so let's get up close and take a look at some of these. Again, that's the 23rd Welsh. And then this is the 33rd. I think it's 33rd West Riding. Alright guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this video. And I'll continue slugging along, getting ready for NashCon in June. So hopefully I'll see you then.